I backed away, trying to think. Then I heard a soft creak behind me, a door swaying open down the hallway. I spun around, and there it was, a shadowy figure at the end of the hall. The moment I locked eyes with him, he charged at me, sprinting full force, knife in hand. I bolted upstairs, slammed my bedroom door shut, locked it, and pushed everything I could in front of it. My hands shook as I dialed 911. Outside the door, I heard the muffled voices of the two intruders talking to each other. Hurried, debating. After about 30 seconds, their footsteps retreated, descending the stairs and leaving the house. Police arrived but found almost nothing. Everyone agreed one of them had knocked to distract me, while the other found a way inside. But why they targeted me is the question that still keeps me up at night. Some people believe they were deranged teens or young adults planning something sick for Halloween and that I was just unlucky enough to be their chosen house. I don't think I'll ever know for sure. The night went on. I watched TV until around 1 or 2 a.m. before heading upstairs to bed, and by then I had forgotten all about the two masked figures. I was seconds from falling asleep when a loud knock echoed through the house. My eyes shot open. I quickly opened my bedroom door, and another knock hit the front door, vibrating through the silent hallways. Terrified but trying to stay calm, I crept downstairs to see who it was. There was only one of them. He stood right up against the door, mask covering his face, knocking over and over. But the second one was nowhere to be seen, and that's what scared me most. A shiver ran down my spine. It was the same two kids from earlier. They were up close now, wearing masks, dressed entirely in black and they were definitely taller than anyone still trick-or-treating, and stranger yet, they didn't have bags, no pillowcases, nothing to collect candy with. They just stood there silently. I couldn't see their eyes. It felt wrong. Trying to stay polite, I offered the candy bowl and asked if they wanted any. Neither of them spoke. After a few seconds of heavy silence, I simply closed the door, completely weirded out. But even then, I still assumed it was some stupid Halloween prank. Kids trying to scare me for fun. A minute later, I checked again. They were gone, and that somehow confirmed it for me. No reason to overthink it. I settled on the living room sofa, put on whatever channel was running Halloween movies, and kept the curtains open so I could see outside. Over the next few hours, nothing happened. No kids, no costumes, just the occasional car driving by. As the sun went down, the street went completely dark and empty. Even after all this time, it still felt unsettling to see the neighborhood so dead on Halloween. Around 8 p.m., a sudden knock at the front door made me jump. I hadn't seen anyone approach, and it felt late for the rare trick-or-treaters that might still be out. Still, I grabbed the candy bowl and opened the door. Honestly, I brushed it off as stupid kids messing around for the holiday. At least they walked away, so I didn't feel the need to worry. I sat outside, enjoyed my coffee, and the rest of the day stayed completely normal, up until around 4 p.m. Normally, that's when trick-or-treaters would begin showing up. Not that I'd seen any in years. Still, out of habit, I got a small bag of candy ready, just in case. Maybe it was just the tradition I couldn't let go of. On the morning of Halloween, I made some coffee and stepped out onto the front porch to enjoy the fall-colored trees. But as soon as I opened the door, I froze. Standing about 30 feet away in my front yard were two kids, or at least, I assumed they were kids wearing Halloween masks. They were tall, skinny, probably high schoolers, maybe even adults. They were too far away to really see, but the instant my door opened, both of them stopped, then hurried deeper into the trees, away from my house. The way they moved was unmistakably suspicious, exactly how kids would act if you caught them doing something they shouldn't. And even though it was Halloween, I had never seen anyone wandering around in masks that early in the morning. This happened in October of 2022. I was living alone in a small, cozy home, tucked inside a family-style neighborhood. I'd been there since 2015, long enough to witness the decline of Halloween firsthand. After 2020, nobody celebrated anymore. Houses stayed undecorated, kids stopped dressing up and going door to door for candy, something that used to be huge in our neighborhood. For the past 2 years, Halloween night had been silent, empty, and lifeless. So, naturally, I assumed this year would be no different. Behind my neighborhood was a decent-sized forest with tons of hiking and camping trails. I used them often, and I always preferred the quieter, less-traveled areas over the crowded campgrounds. I liked solitude. I planned this particular camping trip near the end of autumn V. The trees were bare, the temperatures dropping by the day V, but I figured I could still squeeze in 1 or 2 more trips before winter. I started my hike at midday. The trailhead was empty. No cars, no hikers, nothing. 8 miles in and still not a single person. Most people were probably done with camping season by then. It was colder than expected, but I'd brought heavy jackets and a -20-degree sleeping bag, more than enough to handle the night. Eventually, I reached a clearing just off the trail that I'd camped at once or twice before. I felt comfortable there. I set up my tent, built a small fire ring, got a campfire going, and made some hot decaf to warm myself up. But as the sun dropped and the breeze picked up, the cold became miserable. And then, something else began to bother me. I kept seeing movement far out in the trees. Nothing clear, nothing distinct. Just the shape of something staying far enough away to blend in. Whoever or whatever it was moved deliberately, always keeping just out of sight. As daylight faded, so did my comfort. I tried telling myself it was just a deer or any normal forest animal. It had to be. But an hour after sunset, the cold winds mixed with that creeping sense of being watched. I retreated into my tent and sleeping bag for warmth. I left the door flap tied open so I could still feel some heat from the fire and watch the flames. But beyond 10 feet of firelight, everything was pitch black. I've camped for years and never felt fear like this before. People always say if you ever get a bad feeling, really bad, you should pack up and leave. I'd always thought I'd never be in a situation like that. And worse, I ignored it. Hours passed. It grew even colder. Then I heard it cracking footsteps behind the tent, the one area I couldn't see. I froze, panic flooding my mind. The footsteps grew closer, 5 to 10 feet behind me, then stopped. Silence. Only the fire and wind remained. My heart hammered. After what felt like an eternity, I snapped out of it, unzipped my sleeping bag, grabbed my flashlight, and leapt out of the tent, shining the light directly behind me. Nothing, no one, and somehow that made the fear worse. I never heard anyone walk away. Had they been watching the whole time? For 15 minutes, I spun in circles, scanning every direction. I debated whether to run through the forest in the dark or stay and guard the campsite. But the fire was dying, and I was freezing. So I started packing. Then footsteps, fast, from right behind the tent. I thought I saw something darting into the trees, but the flickering fire messed with shadows too much. To be sure, panicked, I packed everything as fast as I could, and then he appeared. Look, that chilled me more than the wind ever could. I turned and ran. A tall, heavy man stepped into the campfire, light torn jeans, a dirty fleece jacket, a black beanie, maybe in his 40s, with cold, distant eyes. "Leaving so late? Way too cold to be running out in the dark like that," he growled. His voice was harsh. I backed away instantly. He took a half step forward like he was trying to figure out how to keep me there. But when he realized I was too far, something changed in his face. VA branches slapped against me as I sprinted into the darkness. I heard him running behind me, heavy, fast but after 30 seconds the sound faded. Either he gave up or I outran him. Still, I didn't stop for 15 minutes. Eventually, I collapsed against a tree, completely lost. With no light, I had no idea where the trail was, so I sat there in absolute darkness. For hours. A couple of times, I swear I heard movement in the distance. Maybe the man searching. Maybe something worse. At sunrise, I managed to find my way back. I made it out unharmed, honestly. A miracle. The man had been watching me all night, waiting for a moment to strike. Why? I'll never know.